What's up, guys? Welcome back to Airbnb ABCs. The number one question I see asked, and the number one thing that I think people ask me is, how do I get more VRBO bookings? And this is because whenever I show a screenshot of like my calendars or anything like that, I have almost 100% VRBO bookings. It's been this way since the last 2 or 3 years, and pretty soon after I started hosting on Airbnb and VRBO, my bookings went towards VRBO like 60%, and it's to the point now where I rarely get an Airbnb booking. And for me, the reason that I was able to do that is because back in the day, VRBO used to have this thing called boost points, and those were points that you would get rewarded for getting bookings that you could use and boost up other days. So if you had a couple vacant days, you put some boost points on there and it would boost them from like 200 to 250 to like 5 to 10 or 6 to 10 or 1 to 5. And I'm not really exactly sure what those numbers actually mean because every single search is unique based on where you're searching, how many people you have, the amenities that you're looking for, you're bringing pets or not. And so all I know is that it boosted us up in the rankings, and it enabled us to get quite a few bookings, and now we are almost 100% VRBO just in all of our properties. That went by the wayside a couple years ago. I wasn't really crazy about that because I thought that was a big benefit for VRBO hosts. And so now it is a little bit harder to get more VRBO bookings than Airbnb. But the thing that you all need to know before we get into how to do this is you need to understand these algorithms and how they work. They're simply a feedback mechanism from anything from how many times your place gets searched on the first page listing, how many times people are shown it in any of the scrolls, how many times that when it's shown do they click on it, how long do they stay on your listing, and how often does that click go from a click to a booking. That's just part of it. The other part of that is how many reviews do you have, how much calendar space do you have available, is there even anywhere to sell your property. So if you have 100% Airbnb bookings, VRBO has nowhere to get in there. They have nowhere to try to sell your place. So how would you get any VRBO bookings anyway? And so there are two ways now, in my opinion, to do this to try to get more VRBO bookings. One of them is a little bit easier to stomach. The other one that we're going to call the nuclear option is something that you're going to have to put on your big boy pants, and you're going to have to stomach some pain for a while if you want this. I'd probably recommend doing the more gradual version. But what we need to get into before that is the things that you need to consider on your listing. You need to make sure that your VRBO listing is totally complete. You need to make sure that the amenities are filled out, that your photo tour is exactly how you want it. And a lot of folks kind of phone in their VRBO listing because they list it on Airbnb first, and Airbnb is actually a much better platform as far as their tech. It is so much easier to use the Airbnb apps, the Airbnb websites, everything than VRBO. So if you did phone in your VRBO listing, be sure to go in there and get that cleaned up, get it correct in how you want it. So now the first way to do this is the gradual method. And this is where we are going to make your VRBO listing more attractive, and we are going to make your Airbnb listing a little less attractive. And we're going to do this on pricing. You're going to still want both of your listings to look fabulous. You're going to want everything to be exactly how you want it. Good professional pictures, good titles, good copy, because we do want to make money. But if you just want more VRBO listings, you're going to have to give VRBO a reason and some space to get you those bookings and to show your place to potential guests. So you can do one of two things in this case. We can lower the price on VRBO to make it more attractive to guests. The issue with that is that you're still going to probably be getting the same amount of Airbnb traffic because you haven't changed that price, and the VRBO bookings that you do get are going to bring you in less money. And also keep in mind that VRBO charges 5% more to the host than Airbnb does. Airbnb charges 3, VRBO charges 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. The other way we can do this, and the way that I would recommend people doing it, is just to up your Airbnb price. That is going to make that property less attractive to Airbnb, but if you do get bookings, and you still will, you're going to make more money on them. It will make your VRBO listing look far more attractive, because when people are looking, especially if they're looking on these scraping websites like Expedia or, I don't know, any of Travelocity or any of the things like that, they are going to see two prices and they're going to say, well, this Airbnb one is, 10% higher than the VRBO one. Like, why wouldn't I go with VRBO unless they are just, set into their brand loyalty of Airbnb versus VRBO? And then over time, you will see that you end up getting more VRBO bookings, and then that will in turn create a feedback loop where getting more bookings opens more of your space for VRBO. You're starting to get more reviews for VRBO, and you're starting to get more eyes on your VRBO property. So VRBO's algorithm says, hey, this place is pretty good. People are responding to it. Let's pitch them more. And so you will start getting bookings that are even further out. That'll start selling that part of your calendar to VRBO. Airbnb will be like, this place is not doing as well for us, and which is what you want if you want more VRBO bookings. You always really have to think about, is this really what I want to take away from one income source and switch it to the other? And if it is, this way can do it for you over time. The other way is going to take a bit of heartbreak, and this is going to be where you would look at some sort of nuclear option. And there are different ways to look at this. You could just suspend your Airbnb booking. You could snooze it. You could put it to sleep. The problem with this is that you are definitely going to end up taking an income hit. There is no way that VRBO is going to pick up on that so fast that you are just instantaneously going to be able to turn those Airbnb bookings off and VRBO on, unless you attempt this in the peak of your season, which is something that I've never attempted, and I don't think that I would recommend that, because we got bills to pay, we got mortgages to pay. You want to put money in your pocket. But if you do turn off your Airbnb booking or your listing and your VRBO listing is up, you're going to end up getting VRBO bookings eventually. The other way to do it is just to take that gradual method and just kind of go further with it. Really reduce your price of your VRBO listing, or really increase the price of your Airbnb listing, and eventually your stuff will swap over to be the majority VRBO booked. The thing is that VRBO has nothing against your property. Airbnb has nothing against your property. It is just the way that the algorithms work. It does seem as if Airbnb has an easier algorithm to rise to the top of. And that makes sense from Airbnb's perspective, where they want to get more properties on board. They want to try to sell more dates. But and then once people are sucked into that, they get into that positive feedback loop, and it just crowds out VRBO. Whereas it seems as if VRBO is a much harder algorithm to get into, and it's harder to get into that, upward spiral. Likely because VRBO doesn't do a lot of changes to their stuff. They're not doing algorithm changes every 6 months like Airbnb does. And so it's a little bit older and probably a little bit harder to get into. But once you are into it, it's like getting sucked up into an EF5 tornado. You are there. VRBO will crowd out your entire calendar, and you will get, I would assume, the results that you are looking for. So guys, this is my opinion on how you can get more VRBO bookings now that boost points are not a thing, and they haven't been for years. But if you're out there, you're struggling, you want to get some VRBO bookings, and you don't want your Airbnb bookings, this is a way to do it. So if you like this, hit that like button, subscribe down below. Appreciate you hanging out with me today, and I'll see you in the next one.